Mount Washington man says after his apartment flooded, his landlord failed to respond to some rather serious concerns in his building. And he asked Local 12 Rich Jaffe to get involved to see if he could help with the repair issues. Rich joins us now from Mears Avenue with a look at the problems, some resolutions, and a rather unusual case. Rich.
Rob, frequently when we get involved in these stories, the last place a landlord wants to be is in front of one of our cameras. But this is not one of our usual stories, and certainly not one of our usual landlords. For nearly 3 weeks, Wally Stropes has lived with a bedspread across his kitchen door. He hopes it's keeping the smell and mold on the other side. 2:30 in the morning, January 11th, the radiator in Wally's kitchen virtually exploded.
It was terrible. Water just pouring out. It was pouring. The whole boiler emptied out, and the water was so hot I could barely even stand in it. So I pulled the range, and that's why I was concerned about it.
With water flooding the floor, Wally also noticed the range had a floor plug, a possible electrocution threat. He called the fire department and his landlord, but not before the water soaked the carpet and pad in his dining area. Looking at the rusted pipe and fitting, it's easy to understand why the radiator blew apart. Wally and his landlord have been going back and forth ever since about repairs.
And he wasn't going to contact me until I called you. And I informed him, look, this is not the way we're going to do things. You've got responsibilities as a building owner to provide a safe and healthy environment for all your tenants.
Wally was also in the basement when a neighbor was taking a shower. He pulled out his cell phone and shot this.
And it was just, raining in here, raining.
The basement ceiling clearly shows long-term water damage, but owner Mike Chambers says he wasn't aware of any such problems when he bought the building in May.
Well, that's news to me.
The landlord and his tenant clearly aren't getting along very well.
I'm not a bad landlord. Don't make me out to be one. I will take care of this immediately.
One of the sticking points has been a plan by the landlord to steam clean Wally's carpet with Clorox to kill any possible mold growth. But Wally says he thinks it needs a whole lot more. Also, while we were in the apartment, the landlord bled the bathroom radiator and got it working again.
This is a good place. It was a good place when he moved in. As you can see, these aren't alike a lot of the places that are on your website.
Indeed, he's right. These apartments are in considerably better shape than many of them that we have shown you over the last few weeks. And Mike Chambers is a bit of a different landlord. He agreed to meet me here. He walked through the building with us. We talked about the problems, and he also seems agreeable to trying to deal with those problems and deal with his tenants in a pretty reasonable fashion. As for the structural issues here, Wally is still waiting to hear from somebody from the building department to take a look at things like that plug and that sort of thing. But he tells me that someone from the health department has been out here recently and told him that they do not think that he has any mold problem inside that apartment. So that's good news. Now, not such good news. We need to give you an update on a story that we first brought you on Monday. And that story was about some apartments in Delhi. Tenants in the Fairwoods apartments were without water for 5 days until late Monday when we got involved along with legal aid. Their landlord, Ernie Stahman, had told the residents that he didn't have the money to pay the water bill until all of them paid their rent. While the water came back on, a couple of the residents have talked to me today, and they say the heat was turned off last night. Their landlord now says he doesn't have money yet again to pay the Duke bill. So I contacted legal aid, and they have some of their attorneys working on that even now to try and get that heat back on for the residents. No idea what the resolution is going to be there, but we will stay on it, and we will have the answers for you as soon as we get them, and hopefully those guys will have heat pretty soon too. In Mount Washington, Rich Jaffe, Local 12 News. Rob?
Rich, thanks very much. Good work. If you have issues with a problem landlord, let us know. We've set up a special email address to make it easy for you. You can send us a message at whoownsit, all one word, at local12.com.